Karen's cackle sliced through the Halloween night like a butcher knife through cheap candy. By the time her son's screams echoed from the backyard, I knew my prank had hit harder than a sledgehammer on a pumpkin. It was Halloween in our sleepy cul-de-sac, where plastic skeletons rattled in the breeze and kids in superhero costumes darted between houses. I'd spent weeks planning the perfect trick for Karen, the HOA's self-appointed queen, whose reign of terror included fining my dog for excessive wagging and lecturing kids for chalk drawings on the sidewalk. Karen, with her bloated ego and even puffier frame, waddled around in a witch costume that looked like it was losing a fight with her waistline. Her son, Timmy, a lanky 15-year-old with her same smug grin, was her mini-me, tossing candy wrappers on lawns and sneering at younger kids. This year, I'd had enough. The plan was simple but wicked. Swap Timmy's trick-or-treat haul with a bag of Brussels sprouts painted to look like chocolate truffles. I'd spent hours in my garage, meticulously coating each sprout with edible dye, giggling at the thought of their faces when they bit into the bitter truth. My neighbor, Sarah, a single mom with a knack for holding grudges, was in on it. She'd been on the receiving end of Karen's wrath last month. Karen reported Sarah's porch pumpkins for violating aesthetic guidelines. We were ready to serve karma, one sprout at a time. By 8 p.m., the neighborhood was alive with shrieks and laughter. Timmy, dressed as a knockoff vampire, strutted to my doorstep with his posse of equally obnoxious teens. I handed him the rigged bag, smiling sweetly. "Special treats for a special kid," I said, winking. He snatched it and sauntered off, already bragging about his haul. Sarah, watching from her porch, gave me a thumbs up. The chaos erupted an hour later. I was sipping cider in my backyard when Timmy's wail cut through the air. "Mom, these aren't chocolates," he screeched, spitting green mush onto the grass. Karen stormed over, her witch hat crooked, her face redder than the candy apple in her hand. "Who did this?" she bellowed, scanning the crowd of trick-or-treaters gathered near the fire pit. Her eyes locked on me, and I swear her jowls quivered with rage. "You!" she shrieked, pointing a manicured claw. "You poisoned my son." The accusation was absurd, but Karen wasn't one for logic. She marched toward me, her costume's cape flapping like a vulture's wings. Sarah stepped in, trying to calm her. "Karen, it's just a prank. They're Brussels sprouts, not poison." But Karen wasn't having it. She shoved Sarah, who stumbled into a table of jack-o'-lanterns, sending them crashing to the ground. The crowd gasped. A little girl in a unicorn costume started crying. Timmy, still spitting sprouts, yelled, "You're gonna pay for this," and chucked the bag at me. It missed and hit a lantern, which toppled into the fire pit, sparking a small blaze. Panic spread. Kids screamed, parents shouted, and Karen, undeterred, kept advancing, now ranting about lawsuits and neighborhood standards. I tried to explain. "It's just a joke, Karen. Nobody's hurt." But she was beyond reason, her voice a siren of entitlement. "You've humiliated my family," she roared, grabbing a plastic pitchfork from a nearby decoration and waving it like a weapon. That's when Officer Daniels arrived, summoned by a neighbor who'd seen the fire. A stocky man with a no-nonsense stare. He took one look at the scene, Karen brandishing a pitchfork, Sarah dusting pumpkin guts off her jeans, Timmy coughing dramatically inside. "Ma'am, put the pitchfork down," Daniels said. Karen didn't. Instead, she launched into a tirade about her rights, the HOA bylaws, and how I'd assaulted her son with vegetables. Daniels wasn't impressed. He'd dealt with Karen before last summer. She'd called the cops on a kid's lemonade stand for unpermitted commerce. He calmly asked for my side of the story. I admitted to the prank, emphasizing it was harmless. Sarah backed me up, pointing out Karen's history of bullying the neighborhood. Timmy, meanwhile, was milking the drama, clutching his stomach and moaning about food poisoning. The crowd murmured, some snickering, others glaring at Karen. A few parents whispered about her past antics, fining one family for a tacky mailbox, reporting another for a noisy barbecue. Daniels tried to de-escalate, but Karen doubled down. "Arrest them," she demanded, pointing at me and Sarah. "They're a danger to this community." That's when her fatal mistake came. In her fury, She swung the pitchfork too close to Daniel's, grazing his arm. It wasn't a serious injury, but it was enough. His face hardened. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for assaulting an officer." The crowd went silent as Daniels cuffed her. Karen's screams echoed through the night, a mix of outrage and disbelief. "You can't do this. I'm on the HOA board." Timmy, suddenly quiet, looked like he'd swallowed another sprout. Sarah and I exchanged glances, torn between guilt and satisfaction. The fire was out, the kids were safe, but Karen's reign was crumbling. At the station, the truth unraveled. The Brussels sprouts were testable, non-toxic, just gross. Karen's assault charge stuck, though, and the neighborhood buzzed with the story. By morning, her HOA presidency was under review, and Timmy's reputation took a hit. Kids at school started calling him Sprout Boy, and he stopped strutting around like he owned the place. Weeks later, I ran into Sarah at the grocery store. She grinned, holding up a bag of Brussels sprouts. "Thinking of making these a Halloween tradition?" she joked. We laughed, but there was a weight to it. Karen's arrest had exposed her for what she was, a bully who'd pushed too far. The neighborhood felt lighter, freer, like we'd all been holding our breath for years. The prank wasn't just about humiliating Karen. It was about showing her that actions have consequences, that you can't trample over people and expect loyalty in return. Maybe she'd learn, maybe not. But as I walked home, passing houses now free of her petty citations, I felt a quiet victory. Sometimes, a well-placed sprout can topple an empire.